Fuuma Kotaro just took a wound that should have ended him, courtesy of his own nemesis. Instead of dying, he woke up completely healed, and not one person in his squad can explain why. Stick around, because by the end, you'll see exactly what crawled out of that labyrinth with him. Welcome back to the channel that actually reads the lore, so hit like and subscribe before we dive in. This whole mess sits inside the Taimanin universe, where demons and human ninja clans share the same crowded city. Kotaro isn't some chosen hero from birth, he's just a kid, dragged into the Independent Commando Unit's orbit. Around him, factions like the Nisha Ninja Troops and old-school Taimanin loyalists are already at each other's throats. I honestly forget exactly when the timeline locks in, but tension between them boils from Chapter 1. Kotaro's world revolves around Igawa, Asagi, and Fuuma Tokiko, who treat him half-soldier, half-family. He's dragged into missions nobody signed him up for, from rescuing hostages to babysitting a bored deity ritual. And honestly, that's the appeal here. He reacts like a normal guy, even when the mission briefing sounds insane. His rival, or maybe his shadow, is Nisha Gaiza, a rebel whose grudge shapes almost every arc in this saga. The cracks start when Naga soldier Hebiko gets sent to warn Nisha Gaiza's mother that an attack wasn't Asagi's order. Before she can deliver that message, a mercenary named Furst ambushes her and Kisei Hotaru on the spot. Furst captures Hebiko and sells her straight into the Chaos Arena, turning her into bait for Kotaro's unit. That single betrayal kicks off a chain reaction none of them see coming, and it doesn't stop at one arena fight. The rescue goes fine on paper, Zokt tips them off, and Kotaro spots the trap before it closes on him. But that's just the opening move, because Phantom Witch Mizuki Shiranui traps Kotaro inside an illusion right after. He almost settles into that fake world out of comfort, until Uehara Shikanosuke physically pulls him back out. Then, Sakura, his houseguest, drags him into a mercenary job under someone calling himself Faust, just for extra cash. So that cargo run turns into an ambush. The client wanted no witnesses left standing at the drop point. Worse, the real cargo, hidden inside Tsubaki's shipment, ends up delivered straight to the Nisha Ninja Troops. Nobody on Kotaro's side realizes what they actually carried until the CD virus gets released in Tokyo Kingdom. I don't mean a simple outbreak. Entire streets turn residents into something closer to walking corpses. A masked woman feeds Kotaro's group intel, and Ryomanen ally Yomi Akitsu joins just to survive the chaos. Every step closer to the source puts them against a Nisha sub-leader guarding the virus like a personal trophy. This is where it happens. The fight against that sub-leader turns into the closest call of Kotaro's life. He takes a wound that, by every normal rule of this world, should have ended his story right there. Time stretches. Nobody in the room moves. I doubt even his allies know what to do next. And then, he wakes up, healed. No explanation offered, no ninja art unlocked on screen, nothing. Some in his own camp assume this means Kotaro finally awakened a hidden ninja art of his own. But the story never confirms that theory, and honestly, that gap is the most interesting part of this arc. Kiryu Sabato, ever the researcher, wants answers, and sends Kotaro out to dig through old literature instead. That errand, guided by Shishigami Jisai, walks straight into a labyrinth spell nobody warned them about. Members of the Nisha Ninja Troops get caught in that same trap, which forces an alliance nobody wanted. Kotaro ends up working side by side with Gaku Shonosuke, one of the very executives hunting his friends. Besides, he remembers the trap connects to Uriel, which gives them an actual way out of the maze. One brainwashed Nisha clan member still stands between them and freedom. And that fight isn't optional. Here's the twist nobody talks about enough. Kotaro's resurrection is never actually explained in the text. Some players read it as ninja art, some read it as demon influence, and the story just lets that sit unresolved. Wild, honestly. A plot device this major usually gets a flashback or a reveal, but here it's just left hanging. And honestly, that's rare for this genre. Most games explain every power spike within the same chapter. Meanwhile, Micah gets captured and brainwashed too, and Furst reveals himself as the one pulling those strings. She breaks free on her own before the unit even finishes formulating a rescue plan for her. Furst runs the moment she turns the tables on him, which tells you exactly how outmatched he really was. Add in Sonia's assassination mission, where she slips into a blood rage mid-fight against unknown UFS forces. Kosaka, Shizuru, and Shikanosuke barely talk her down before the auction crowd notices anything wrong. Every single one of these threads circles back to the same unanswered question about where Kotaro's power comes from. Even Sakura's late-night gaming sessions with Kotaro get interrupted by Fuuma Tokiko's training drills. The winner gets an allowance, and Sakura, predictably, just wants more money for games, not glory. Then there's Clear, a small girl at Inagiya who turns out to be a cyborg built to kill Igawa Asagi. She gets brainwashed and rigged with a bomb, and only Yukikaze's lightning trick cancels the remote control in time. Kotaro solves that one, almost by accident, which fits his whole pattern of stumbling into disasters unarmed. Even his Valentine's Day turns into a fight, when Cyborg Major tries to drag Fuuma Saika back to Task Force G. Saika refuses, a fight breaks out, and Major ends up captured by the very Taimanin he came to fight. So even the comedic side arcs quietly build the same theme. Everyone around Kotaro is hiding something. And that boar ritual arc? Kotaro gets turned into an actual boar, and only Asagi believes it's really him. Killing the wrong boar apparently curses you, so Asagi sticks by his tiny boar form the entire arc. They fight alternate versions of Hamura, Felicia, and Asuka, before finally beating the real deity into submission. The wish gets used just to send Kotaro home. No grand power, no twist ending, just a straightforward trade. I'm not sure if the show ever revisits that world again, but it never undercuts the resurrection mystery either. Every arc, comedic or brutal, keeps circling the same center, Kotaro surviving things that should have ended him. Nisha Gaiza's rebellion alone reshapes half the cast's loyalties, before the CD virus even hit. Tsubaki's betrayal with the cargo run still counts as the quiet detonator behind the entire Tokyo Kingdom disaster. Without that one delivery, there's no outbreak, no masked woman, no Yomi Akitsu joining the fight at all. And that's what I love. One small mercenary job snowballs into a full city crisis nobody saw coming. The Labyrinth alliance with Gaku Shonosuke also never gets resolved cleanly. They just survive it and move on. No apology, no lasting truce. Just two enemies who happen to need the same exit at the same time. That refusal to wrap things up neatly is honestly the most human thing about this entire saga. Real conflicts don't close with a bow. They just pause until the next crisis forces everyone back together. And Kotaro, through all of it, never once gets a clean explanation handed to him on a plate. He just keeps waking up, keeps getting pulled into the next fire, keeps surviving without understanding why. Nobody explains his healing. Nobody explains why Furst keeps targeting his circles specifically, over and over again. Even Kiryu Sabato's research angle just fades out once the Labyrinth arc ends. No follow-up chapter answers it. Furst himself never gets a clean motive either. He just shows up wherever chaos is most profitable. Kalia, the one running the chaos arena, treats captured Taimanin like inventory instead of people. The Independent Commando Unit doesn't plan half these rescues. They mostly react one crisis at a time. Sonia's UFS handlers clearly know more about her blood rage than they're willing to tell the squad. Kiryu Sabato's obsession with Kotaro's power reads less like curiosity and more like quiet fear. Gaku Shonosuke never once thanks Kotaro for the Labyrinth escape, which honestly feels true to his character. Uehara Shikanosuke keeps getting dragged into rescue duty for people who barely acknowledge him afterward. Yomi Akitsu joining a human squad against her own instincts is a bigger deal than the story treats it as. At no point does anyone sit Kotaro down and actually explain what changed inside him that night. What's left after all this isn't a clean victory. It's a pile of unanswered questions Kotaro just keeps carrying. The world around him moves on, scarred, unresolved, and quietly waiting for whatever wakes up in him next. In my opinion, this arc works precisely because nobody hands Kotaro an instruction manual for his own survival. Honestly, a story that explained his healing in one flashback would have killed half the tension we just watched. Maybe the real theme here isn't power at all. It's how little control any of these characters actually have. Thinking about it more, that's scarier than any monster in this whole saga, and I don't think that's an accident. If you don't want to miss whatever gets darker than this next, hit subscribe before the next upload drops.